أهلا وسهلا بكم. Welcome to lesson number 16 and the final lesson of the first unit. Today we're gonna go over Hamzah. We'll divide the Hamzah into three types. First, the Hamzah that comes in the beginning of a word. We call it Hamzah al-Bad', a beginning Hamzah. Examples are mother, ab, father. Then we have al-Hamzah al-Mutatarrifa, which is the ending Hamzah that comes at the end of a word. Examples are خطأ and صدأ. خطأ is wrong, صدأ is rust. خطأ, صدأ. The third type is الهمزة المتوسطة, a medial hamza that comes in the middle of a word, like فأر and رأي. فأر is a mouse, رأي is an opinion. فأر, رأي. Let's go into the details. First, همزة البدء. همزة البدء comes in two types of its own. First, همزة القطع, which is the one that we already have learned. An alif topped with a hamza, or the hamza could go on the bottom of the alif if it's modified by a kasra. Examples: ab, anf. This is a straightforward hamza. It's a consonant modified by a vowel a, u, or e. Then the second type of a beginning hamza is hamzat al-wasl. Hamzat al-wasl we write exactly like an alif, but without the hamza. But we keep the vowels. Hamzat al-wasl is pronounced exactly like Hamzat al-qata'. It's a consonant modified by a vowel, so it sounds a, u, or e. The only difference we're going to go over in the next slide. Let's take some examples for Hamzat al-wasl. Ism. Notice how we pronounce it exactly the same. Ism, it means name. And then imra'a, which means a woman. Ism, imra'a. So what's the difference between them? In order to see the difference, we'd have to put them in a sentence. So we're gonna produce our first sentence of this course. First, we'll learn one new word, hiya, which means she, hiya. So we're gonna add to it but because we added in a sentence, then we have to give it an indefinite article. So we say ummun, and there we have our first sentence in Arabic. Let's read it now. A ha with a kasra is he, and then a ya with a fatha is ya. Then a hamza with a dhamma is u, and the mim, because it's the last word of speech, we're gonna stop there. So we have to ignore the shadda and the vowel. So we're just simply gonna say m. So let's read it. Hiya, hiya, Now this is a complete sentence. In Arabic, you don't need to have a verb in every sentence. Actually, most sentences don't have verbs. So hiya, it means she is a mother. Hiya, she is a mother. Now, let's take another example in which we have Hamzat al-Wasl. Let's say, hiya imra'atun. We want to say that she's a woman. So we added an indefinite article to imra'a by adding the tanween بالضم at the end. Now we'll notice the difference between how we pronounce Hamzat al-Qata' and Hamzat al-Wasl. So hiya, he, yeah. Now Hamzat al-Qata' you always pronounce no matter where it comes in speech. Hamzat al-Wasl on the other hand, you only pronounce when it's in the beginning of speech. So when I say imra'a on its own, it's in the beginning of speech, so I do pronounce that hamza. In this case, it's in the middle. And because it's in the middle, we pretend like it's not there. We actually connect both words together. So we add a hyphen, and then we go on, we ignore the hamza, and we go to the mim. Mim has a sukoon, which makes it m, and then ra has a fatha, which makes it ra, and then alif has a fatha, which makes it a, and then finally ta marbuta, which is gonna sound like a ha because we're gonna stop there. So the sentence will read, remember we're gonna connect both words together, so we're gonna say it together. هي امرأة, هي امرأة, هي امرأة, as if it was one word. هي امرأة. So this means she is a woman. So this is a full sentence. هي أم. Notice how we pronounce the hamza there, and we say هي أم, two separate words. That's why we call it hamzat al-qata', which means cutting. Now, hamzat al-wasl, wasl means connecting. So the two words are going to sound as if they were one word. هي امرأة, هي امرأة. Now let's look at al-hamza al-mutatarrifa, the ending hamza which comes at the end of a word. Now we're used to seeing a hamza sitting on top of an alif, like so. But unfortunately, this is not the only way a hamza could be written. A hamza could also be written on top of a waw, like so. Or it could be written on top of a ya, like so. However, we'll take away the two dots from the ya. So if we add the hamza to a ya, we take the two dots away. Finally, a hamza could be standalone like this without anything to support it. Now, we need to know that a hamza will always sound the same. It's a consonant and it's affected by whatever vowel we add to it, whether short or long. And the alif or the waw or the ya that sits under the hamza doesn't affect at all how we pronounce it. However, we must learn the rule as to when to write the hamza on an alif or a waw or a ya or by itself. So let's begin. What we will do is that we will examine the vowel preceding the hamza. And if that vowel was a kasra, we'll write the hamza on a ya. If that vowel was a dhamma, we'll write it on a waw. If that vowel was a fatha, we'll write it on an alif. If it was preceded by a sukoon or by a long vowel, we'll write it on its own. So again, we'll look at the vowel of the letter preceding the hamza. If it was a kasra, we write it on a ya. If it was a dhamma, we write it on a waw. If it was a fatha, we write it on an alif. And if it was a sukoon or a long vowel, we write it on its own. Let's take a few examples now. In this case, we have to look at the letter before the hamza, which is a ta', the vowel of which is a fatha, which means the hamza will have to be written on an alif. So we write it like this, and it's pronounced khata', khata', which means wrong. Khata'. Next, let's see, the letter before it is the fa, and it has a kasra, which means that the hamza would have to be written on a ya. So we write it like so, and it reads dafi', dafi', which means warm. Dafi'. Next, the letter before the hamza is a waw, and the waw has a sukoon on it. And because it has a sukoon, then the hamza would have to be written on its own, like this. And it's pronounced daw', daw', which means light. Khata', dafi', daw'. More examples. Again, the letter before the hamza is a ya, and it's topped by a sukoon. And a sukoon would make the hamza written alone, not needing an alif or a waw or a ya. So we write it like this. Notice, even though ya is a connecting letter, a hamza never connects to any letter, whether before it or after it. So we write it like this. It reads shay', shay', which means a thing or something. Shay'. Next example, the hamza is preceded by an alif. However, this alif is a long vowel affecting the letter mim. And after a long vowel, we write the hamza on its own, like so. Sama', sama', sky. سماء. Then we have this example. Now ignore the Hamza on top of the waw that's in the middle, because we'll come to the medial Hamza later. Let's try to figure out how to write the Hamza at the end. So the Hamza at the end is preceded by the lam, which has a dhamma on top of it, and after a dhamma the Hamza would have to be written on a waw. So we would write it like so. This would read lu'lu', lu'lu', which means pearl, lu'lu'. So let's go over the words. خطأ, دافئ, ضوء, شيء, سماء, lu'lu'. There is one more rule that we need to go over for an ending Hamza, which is tanween, and tanween بالفتح. Remember, when we do a tanween بالفتح, we would have to add an alif at the end. However, there are some rules concerning that when it comes to an ending Hamza. The word خطأ, the Hamza is on top of an alif. And because it's on top of an alif, we can't put two alifs in a row. So we just simply don't add an alif. We just add the tanween on top of it. So this would read خطأ, خطأ. دافئ is simple. We add the alif. Obviously we don't pronounce it. So we say دافئا. With ضوء, the Hamza is on its own. When a Hamza is on its own, we look at the letter preceding it. If the letter preceding it is an unconnecting letter like the waw here, we don't add the alif. And we write it like so. ضوءا, ضوءا. In the next word, شيء, again the Hamza is on its own. However, this time it's preceded by a connecting letter, ya. And because it's preceded by a connecting letter, we're gonna write the alif. But before writing the alif, we need something below the Hamza in order to connect to the ya. So we add a ya under the Hamza, like so. See, the ya, the original ya is there. We add another ya without the dots under the Hamza, and we connect it to the alif. And this would be pronounced شيئا, شيئا. سماء, the Hamza is on its own. However, it comes after an alif, which is a non-connecting letter. So we would write it like so. سماء, سماء. Finally, lu'lu'. The Hamza is on top of a waw, so we do add the alif, and it would be pronounced lu'lu'an, lu'lu'an. خطأ, خطأ. دافئ, دافئا. ضوء, ضوءا. شيء, شيئا. سماء, سماء. lu'lu', lu'lu'an. So when we add the tanween بالفتح, we add the alif unless the Hamza is on top of an alif like خطأ, or if it's on its own and preceded by a non-connecting letter like ضوءا and سماء. Now let's look at the medial Hamza. In the medial Hamza, what's gonna affect it is the vowel of the letter preceding it and its own vowel. So the most powerful vowel would be the kasra or a mad bil ya. So if the Hamza has a kasra or a mad bil ya, or if the letter preceding it has a kasra or a mad bil ya, we would write the Hamza on a ya like this. Second would come الضمة and mad bil waw. And these vowels would make the Hamza be written on top of a waw like this. Then a fatha or a mad bil alif, and they would make the Hamza be written on a top of an alif like this. Now remember that we will be comparing the vowel of the letter preceding the Hamza and the vowel of the Hamza itself, and we determine which is the strongest vowel. And the strongest vowel is gonna win, and we're gonna write the Hamza accordingly. The strongest is the kasra and the ya, followed by the dhamma and the waw, followed by the fatha and the alif. There is one more case in which a fatha is on the Hamza that is following a mad bil alif. In that case, the Hamza is written on its own. We'll see how we do that in the following examples. So we look at this example. A ra has a fatha and a Hamza has a sukoon. a fatha is definitely stronger than a sukoon because a sukoon means no vowel. So a fatha would make the hamza be written on top of an alif, like so. And that makes ra's, ra's, which means head, ra's. Next is this. The meme has a dhamma and the hamza has a sukoon. Obviously the dhamma wins. So we write it like this. And we read it mu'dhi, mu'dhi, which means harmful. Mu'dhi. Next, the hamza has a fatha, but it's preceded by a mad bil alif, a long vowel. And this is the only case where the hamza is written on its own. So in this case, we write it like this. قراءة, قراءة, which means reading. قراءة, قراءة. Next. So a hamza has a kasra. It's preceded by a mad, a long alif, a long vowel. Now a kasra is stronger than the mad bil alif. So the kasra wins and the hamza is going to be written on a ya, like so. And that makes sa'il, sa'il, which means liquid. Sa'il. Next, the hamza has a fatha, but the preceding letter ra has a kasra. Again, kasra is stronger than a fatha, and a hamza will be written on a ya, like this. Ri'ah, ri'ah, which means a lung. Ri'ah. Here, the preceding letter ra has a fatha on top of it. The hamza is modified by a long vowel ya, and the ya is stronger than the fatha, so we have to write the hamza on a ya, like so. And this reads Ra'is, Ra'is, which means president. Ra'is. To sum it up, we learned the beginning hamza, which could either be hamzat qat' or hamzat wasl. The ending hamza is determined by the preceding vowel, and the medial hamza is determined by its own vowel compared to the vowel of the letter that precedes it. Well, we just finished unit number 1 from Arabic Made Easy. Unit number 1 was intended to teach you how to read and write Arabic, without which you can't learn how to construct sentences, you can't learn how to conjugate verbs, you can't learn how to have conversations. So after Unit 1, you should be more than able to read or write any Arabic text. Please go over the videos again and make sure you have a grasp of all the concepts, and don't hesitate to ask me any question you might have by leaving a comment or by sending me an email. If you like the music played in the background of this lesson, it's a song called Mawtini by Ibrahim Toqan, composed by Mohammed Flakel. Please take care and see you in unit number 2. Bye bye.